This is Uncle Ruckus. No relation. I'm a very spiritual person. I start out each day thanking the man for the sunrise, for the land I walk on, for the air I breathe, and for this show, the era of Reconstruction.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are playing with power. With power. Welcome to the Era of Reconstruction. This Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. I'm your host, Darren Williams, as well as the Director of Policy and Endorsements. I want to thank you very much for joining me today. Unfortunately, Audrey Pruitt, our CEO, and AJ Swenson, our Chief of Staff, will not be here, but you got me, and that should be enough. I'll keep you entertained, keep you enlightened, and keep you informed on what's going on, or what has been going on, I should say. A lot of stuff is in the news, a lot of crazy stuff, and we're going to go through that stuff. Some of the stuff we're going to be talking about is some things we illustrated yesterday, but new stories have come out, like the Jeffrey Toobin. It says that Jeffrey Toobin was masturbating in front of New Yorker bigs, a report says. Now, can you imagine that? Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey Toobin is supposed to be this Harvard refined liberal scholar that, oh my God, he could do no wrong. And it seems that he was masturbating in front of people. Now, his New Yorker friends, the publication that he belongs to, that he's been in high regards. In this article, it says that the New Yorker writer and CNN analyst Jeffrey Toobin didn't just expose himself during a Zoom work meeting. He was allegedly caught masturbating in the call with some of the magazine's biggest names and has been suspended from the publication. Isn't this crazy? I mean, we laugh at this and we make fun and we joke about this, and you can well imagine how probably awkward this would seem to the normal person. Maybe not to him, maybe not to liberals, but for us to say, oh my God, what in the heck possessed him to masturbate during a Zoom call? Of all people, there wasn't just women on there. I think there were two guys on this thing, and so they were role playing, not in a sexual way, but more so in a way of pretending that they were either Donald Trump or Joe Biden, and some were Republicans and some were. It basically what it was. It was during the simulation of a Democrat presidential candidate role play, and one particular person was Joe Biden, another person was Donald Trump. And I think Jeffrey Toobin represented the lawyer, and then you had the conservative or the Republicans, and then you had the Democrats. But the mere fact that this guy is masturbating, ladies and gentlemen, the left is so perverse that the things that they do, and it's almost like it shouldn't faze anybody. If a Republican does that, oh my God, they need to be hung, they need to be burned, and then they don't even deserve to be tossed into the sea. They actually need to be stomped on their ashes. That's when we do stuff, conservatives do stuff. And I mean, I'm not talking about masturbating on the Zoom. I'm talking about the mere fact of, we don't believe in white privilege, or, we're not racist. We don't believe in what you're trying to categorize us as. But no, listen, if we say something like that, they'll kill us. But anyways, the whole point with this Jeffrey Toobin is that for some strange reason, he thought it was okay, or he says that, it was a mistake. He didn't mean to do it. And so the point being is that I'm going to dedicate a song to Jeffrey Toobin because I think that this song will really be appropriate for what he did. So here we go. And this is actually Chuck Berry. You'll like this.
When I was a little bitty boy,
my
grandmother bought me a cute little toy. Silver bells hanging on a string. She said it was my
you imagine Jeffrey Toobin singing this while he was playing with his little ding-a-ling-a-ling?
Ding-a-ling, my ding-a-ling. I wanna play with my ding-a-ling-a-ling.
All right, that's enough of playing with your ding-a-ling-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Anyways, listen, the point that I want to make is that we're coming up in an election. It's almost to the point where your actions have to be perfect. And it's interesting because I'm referring to conservatives. Your actions have to be absolutely perfect. Everything that Trump does is scrutinized. It is. Everything that a conservative does that supports Trump is scrutinized. But Jeffrey Toobin actually is probably being celebrated. He's probably the toast of the town in New York. They're probably laughing about it. They're joking about it. Even Rachel Madden was joking about it, or Maddow, whatever you want to call it, was joking about it on her program. This is funny to them. And I know it sounds like, okay, Darren, why you keep on choking this? I'm trying to make a point here. The point, and it's going to lead into a whole bunch of things that I'm going to be talking about early. But my point is that liberals, they don't care. They believe that you should accept their behavior no matter what. No matter if it is jerking off, no matter if it is the Hunter Biden thing. We're going to get into that as well. No matter if it is Joe Biden hiding in the basement. You don't even really see Joe Biden anymore. I mean, I don't know if people have recognized that. Joe Biden doesn't have any rallies. He doesn't have any rallies. On the other hand, Trump is killing with rallies. I mean, he has rallies. I remember back in 2016, he had almost like 2 rallies a day. Now that's 4 years later. He has a rally a day. He's out there on the campaign trail. You can't find Joe Biden. You can't even find Kamala Harris. You can't. He is hiding now. Of course, there are 2 major reasons why he's hiding. One, he doesn't have a clue as to what he wants to do or what his policies are. Now, of course, his policies are related to Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and the radical left. But what I'm saying to you, he doesn't even know how to articulate those things. And when it comes to being asked the question to articulate them, well, Joe Biden is like, oh, come on, man. It's all good. I'm going to bring everybody together. We're going to get over this coronavirus and we're going to spread love and we're going to cut taxes and we're going to make people happy and we're going to bring it all together. Joe Biden does not know what the heck he's talking about. And so they hide him away. Of course, now this debate's coming up and we're going to talk about that as well. But what I want to do is I want to get into a particular article, and even though Joe is not listing the things that he's going to do, but this article, which is actually in Issues Insights, issueinsights.com, it says 5 other things we'll learn about Joe after the election, or about Biden after the election. Now it reads, for weeks, Joe Biden has played coy about whether he'll pack the Supreme Court with liberals should he win the White House and Democrats take control of the Senate. The media has largely ignored the issue, as they have done anything that might cause harm to Biden's chances of winning, basically. So what else isn't Biden or the press telling us? What else will voters learn after they've cast their ballots? We can think of 5 now. They're writing, the III editorial is writing, we can think of 5 things that, had voters known about them before November the 3rd, would have no doubt snapped support for Biden. One, the first thing they said is Biden is a far left liberal with a big agenda. In his first debate with President Donald Trump, Biden seemed to distance himself from his party's far left. He said he wasn't in favor of the Green New Deal and didn't support Medicaid for all. His entire campaign is built around saying nothing about what he'd do as president, other than be a nice guy. And actually, that's very true, ladies and gentlemen. If you listen to Biden, whether it was the first debate, whether it was in the town hall meeting that he did, he didn't say anything. He did a bunch of platitudes. He said, come on, man, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're going to bring everyone together. I think the black guy asked him about, hey, other than, not being black and voting or being black and having to vote Democrat, what are you going to do for blacks? He pandered to the guy. He mentioned John Lewis, who's dead. John Lewis has no significance in this whole debate or this whole town hall or even presidency. He doesn't, but he pandered to the guy, never answered the guy's question. The guy, when George Stephanopoulos asked the guy, well, did you get your answer? And the guy was like, I think so. The guy he didn't get his answer. And he was trying to be nice to Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden is a wreck. But the point is that Joe Biden is going to support the Green New Deal. He is. It's on his website. The Green New Deal that Biden says he opposes, for example, is contradicted by his own campaign website. Biden believes the Green New Deal is a critical framework for meeting the climate challenges we face. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not facing any climate challenges other than like when I go to Boca Raton, leaving from Maryland, and I'm challenged because the weather just automatically lifts up to 90 degrees. Now, we're talking north and south here, so of course, that's the only challenge that I face or anybody else that lives in Maryland that goes to Florida or vice versa. But outside of that, there's no such thing as man-made climate change. There isn't. Because if that was the case, then okay, how do we fix it? Literally. And how is it that we're messing it up? And so, that's one of the things Joe Biden is talking about. And Medicaid for all. Joe Biden has simply sidestepped the issue for his proposal to create a public option for everyone. Moderate Democrats rejected the public option in 2010 because they knew it would lead quickly to the elimination of private insurance. These are moderate Democrats. We're not talking about Republicans. Moderate Democrats know and knew that it was going to eliminate private insurance. But see, Joe Biden keeps on rambling on, thinking that if he repeats it over and over and over again, somehow it will become true. That's what liberals do. They constantly do that. Another thing that this article says, or the editorial board says that people will find out, Joe doesn't have any plans to solve the COVID-19 problem. Have you noticed that, ladies and gentlemen? He hasn't. He'll say, we'll increase this or we'll decrease that or we'll do this or we'll do that. And it's not a specific plan. It's a bunch of platitudes. It is. It says right here, Biden endlessly claims that Trump fumbled his handling of the coronavirus pandemic without ever saying what he'd do differently. When he tried to make the case that he would have acted sooner, he comes up against his own contemporary statements, undercutting his claims of better foresight. The point is he's basically contradicting what he said earlier. One point that he said is that, you don't need to worry about the virus. In the beginning, I think this was in February, late January, early February. Oh, you don't need to worry about the virus. The virus is, it's nothing. Even with Nancy Pelosi out in Chinatown. Hey, come on in. Hey, party with us. Come on down to Chinatown and enjoy Chinatown. And so you find that all of a sudden he backtracks and said, oh, it's very serious, and Trump, he didn't do anything and he failed the ball. No, Trump actually did do something. He restricted flights from China. That was the first thing. And then he restricted flights from Europe. A ton of things that he did. But that's another thing we'll find out, that Joe Biden really doesn't have a plan. He just doesn't. The other thing is Joe's mental ability. There are some concerns about Joe's mental ability, but the interesting thing is that that's not being addressed right now. It's not being addressed. It's not hard to find evidence of Biden's cognitive decline. All we have to do is to watch him. He manages to keep it together during his debate with Trump, and it is oh so friendly town hall meeting. But at almost every event, Biden stumbles with memory and abundantly clear fumbling of his words. And the point being is that I do believe that if Joe Biden were to win, right now, they're not talking about his cognitive abilities or his cognitive decline, but as soon as he wins, I think there will be talk about, Joe might not be well enough to carry through his presidency. And so we have an also willing Kamala Harris, a super radical, that is willing to take over for him. And you see how this thing works out? And so you're not privy to any of the things that Joe Biden wants to do until he gets elected. It's almost like what Nancy Pelosi said. Well, we got to sign the bill to find out what's in it. We can't know what's in it right now. We got to sign it first, and then we'll know about it. It's like, what am I buying? Well, I'm not going to tell you what you're buying until you buy it, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. I mean, that's literally what they're selling us, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. It really is. The other thing, they said the fifth thing, well, excuse me, I skipped over one important thing. I skipped over the third thing that they would say. The economy has been doing much better than the public has been led to believe. Interesting part about this, it says, back in 1992, which George H.W. Bush was running for re-election, the press treated the economy as though it were another depression, which just so happened to coincide with Bill Clinton's campaign messaging. As soon as the election was over, Clinton winning, of course, coverage of the economy suddenly became more upbeat, and the public learned that the very mild recession had ended way back in March of 2019. I'm ahead of myself. March of 1991. Now, the complaining because the election was coming up started in 1992, but the recovery had happened in the first quarter of 1991. And it says right here, it says a study of press coverage found that in October 1992, more than 90% of the economic news was negative. After the election, only 14% of the economic news was negative. Now, this is the kicker right here. Should Biden win, expect the press to revile that. Lo and behold, the economy from the coronavirus shutdown has been much stronger than expected. We'll highlight the facts that unemployment is well below the experts' forecast, and that GDP's growth in the third quarter was well into double digits. None of this could get reported before the election because it would have helped Trump. And you see how this works out? It's all doom and gloom when you have a Republican, or we're leading up to an election where the incumbent is a Republican. But as soon as if that Democrat wins, then everything is hunky-dory. Everything is perfectly fine. And let me tell you something. I do believe this, and I've been saying this to a lot of people, and I think it was Thomas Loopy Friedman. I think Rush Limbaugh calls him Loopy because he's a little weird. But he was asked a question. He said, this coronavirus, this COVID-19, when do you think this COVID-19 will end? You know what he said? He honestly said, after the election. After the election. And let me tell you something. I believe him. I know that sounds funny, but I truly believe him that after the election, all of a sudden, COVID is going to disappear, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to be a problem anymore. The unemployment, it's not going to be an issue anymore. Everybody's going to get back to work. Oh, the mask. Yeah, we conquered it. We won. We beat it. We beat the COVID-19 back, ladies and gentlemen, by the mere fact that Joe Biden, the senile man, Joe Biden, won the election. And Kamala Harris, oh my God, she's a smart, well, I thought it was Hillary. But anyways, at this present moment, Kamala Harris is the smartest woman in the galaxy. I mean, even God takes counsel from Kamala Harris. That's what's going to be informed of us. But anyways, I can get into the last one, which basically is called hate-filled politics wasn't caused by Trump. It's never caused by a Republican. Us Republicans, all we want to do is we want limited government and we want capitalism for everyone to exceed. We do. What do Democrats want? Well, they want a large government and they want to oppress people. That's what they want. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party has not changed since the antebellum South. They haven't. And for anyone to think that they have, you're a weirdo. You're a nutcase. And you're lying to yourself. Now, what has happened is that realizing that we can't enslave blacks anymore, the Democrat Party has said, you black people, you want to be a part of our organization? All you need to do is you need to oppress those that are around you. And you can join us. You think like us, you act like us, you talk like us, you will rise in the rank. And you fail. You know, Democrats are the only ones that fail up where Republicans have to be the best at what they do in order to move ahead. And even with that, we're questioned. But the point is that the Democrat Party has inherited everybody who's willing to stomp on the little guy or the man right next to them. It breeds animosity. It breeds jealousy. It breeds hatred. It breeds malice, envy. Let me tell you something, which is interesting. When you look at President Trump and you look at Vice President Pence, you could see a love. You could see a union. You could see true camaraderie. You could see two men who have a single goal, and that is to make America great. But in the past 8 years of Obama with Joe Biden, let me tell you what you saw. If you were really looking, you saw division between those two. They didn't work in concert. They only worked in concert when it came to acquiring wealth for themselves. Okay, well, and Hillary Clinton was involved in that. You know, Obama knew about Hillary Clinton's pay for play. You know, when she had the foundation, the Clinton Foundation, and how she was selling access to the White House on the come, thinking that she was going to be the next president. Obama and Biden knew that. They knew it. And they probably said, you know what? You can go ahead and do that just as long as we get a little piece of that pie, little girl. And she did it. And what did they do? They said, Bill, you know that Hillary Clinton is smarter than you and I. And the reason why he said that, ladies and gentlemen, is because he wanted her to continue in the White House so he could continue his millions or billions or whatever the heck it was. But that's what these people do. And that's what Joe Biden is going to do, ladies and gentlemen. That's what he's going to do. He's going to raise taxes like crazy. There's an article in CNBC. It says, it just came out today by Robert Frank. It says Biden's tax plan could create a tax rate of as much as 62% for New Yorkers and Californians, study shows. 62%, ladies and gentlemen. 62%. High earners in New York and California could face combined federal and state tax returns of 62% under Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden's tax plan, according to experts. That's crazy. While Americans earning less than $400,000 would, on average, receive tax cuts under Joe Biden's plan, the highest earners will face double-digit increases in their official tax rates, according to a nonpartisan analysis. In California, New Jersey, and New York City, taxpayers earning more than $400,000 a year could face combined state and local statutory income tax rates of more than 60%. More than 60%, ladies and gentlemen. Currently, they said the top earners are paying like 26.8%. Now, the U.S. statutory rate currently is 37%. But right now, under Trump's tax cuts, ladies and gentlemen, they're paying 26.8%. The high earners, 400,000, top earners. That's what they're paying. So Joe Biden is literally going to tax them almost 3 times as much. It's crazy. Are people? Listen. This is in the New York Post as well, but this is in CNBC. This is not a conservative outlet. It is a liberal outlet, ladies and gentlemen. And I know how liberals don't read any conservative outlets, but this right here is it's in a liberal outlet. Why in the world would you vote for this guy? And let me tell you something. What's going to happen? And I think here in this this article, it mentions how corporations, the tax rate is going to go up for corporations as well. Now, let me tell you what happens when you tax high earners or you tax corporations. A lot of people think that, corporations they're shifty and they're evil and they're taking the money and they're buying Porsches and they're buying boats. Yeah, okay, maybe so. I don't know, maybe so. But more importantly, what corporations are doing, because they're in a capitalist society and this competition, they're trying to be the best. Because when you're the best, you get more people wanting to buy your product or your service. And if that's the case, then what happens is you start to employ more people. You start to beef up your R&D. You start to expand. You start to buy property and real estate and build more in different locations. And then what happens? Those people who are not making $400,000 get employed. And I'm not just talking about the people who are making $200,000 or $100,000. I'm talking about the people who maybe make $15 an hour. And that can build up. You see, when you tax corporations, what do? Well, they just hide their money. And I'm not saying they hide their money in the sense of an evil way. Man, they park it over in another country. Or they stop with their expansion. They stop with R&D. And so people start getting laid off, because the bottom line is that they're trying to conserve, they're trying to save money. That is the same reason why Apple left America. They didn't want America to be taxing them like crazy, so they left. And so what we're trying to do right now, Trump is trying to do, he's trying to bring a lot of the production of Apple products back into the country with great tax cuts for corporations, which will bring more people into the workforce. That's how that works. But here, Joe Biden, with his tax plan, he's going to tax the bejesus, out of these Democrat states. I can almost honestly say, that sounds pretty good to me. I mean, tax them. But you know what? This is the thing. What these people are going to do, they're going to leave New York and they're going to go to Florida. And I'm thinking about going to Florida. And I really don't want any liberals in Florida, New Yorkers particularly. But anyways, the point is this. Joe Biden has a plan to destroy America. It's a socialist communist plan. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what he's selling, and that's why he can't be seen. That's why you can't find him anywhere. Because the real questions to be asked of Joe Biden, they would scare you if he answered them legitimately and competently. They would scare the bejesus out of you, and he can't afford that. He can't even afford to talk about his son, Hunter Biden, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's so crazy what he did to his son. Listen, we joking, kid, about the whole thing of him being, a drug addict or whatever the case may be, coke, crack, cocaine, whatever. I don't know what it is, what he's doing. He could be snorting sugar and spice or whatever. I don't know. But the guy was a normal guy at one point. And he had a wife, beautiful, beautiful 3 daughters. And then all of a sudden, the Obama and Biden years came about, and then all of a sudden the guy just went nuts. I mean, he got some girl pregnant. He slept with his brother's widow. He had a messy divorce with his wife, which basically they were in financial ruins. And then you find him, his father, I guess, takes him under his wings and puts him on a Ukrainian board for Burisma. And of course, the guy knows nothing about energy. I don't know what Hunter Biden knows about other than snorting cocaine and acting like a Biden. But I'm sure his life was in turmoil. I guess he was attempting to medicate himself from all this disaster. But his father kept it going. And all this was for Joe to collect money. How do you do that to your own child? And ladies and gentlemen, this is my point here. If he's going to do that to his own child, his own flesh and blood, what in the world do you think he's going to do to you and I? Well, he might not be there for long, but my point is for the length of time he'll be there, he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. But there's one guy, ladies and gentlemen, who literally, I was talking to an Uber guy. It's funny. I was in Boca Raton, and I caught an Uber from Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood Airport to Boca Raton. I was talking to this guy from Haiti, and we were talking about Trump. And at first, I said we were driving, and I saw this billboard with a Trump billboard, supporting Trump, and I said, "Oh my God, That's beautiful. I said, Trump is going to win. Trump is going to win. And he was going to, but I softened him up, and all of a sudden, this guy was like singing the praises of Trump. You know, the guy works like 3 or 4 jobs. What was his name? I think his name was Jean. His name was Jean, Haitian. Jean, and he was singing the praises of Trump, and he said the only problem he has with Trump is that he thinks Trump loves the country too much. That's a great problem to have, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen? That a guy loves the country too much. Trump loves this country, ladies and gentlemen. He loves the people. He does. He does. Even his enemies, you know, he has patience with them. Fauci, oh my God, Fauci's an idiot. He's a complete moron. I mean, he's out there quoting The Godfather. I mean, does he think he's that great? But Trump has patience with him. When they asked him, why don't you fire him? He said, no, I don't want to fire him. You know, hey, look, he's been around for about 352 years. I can't fire him. I mean, the man has patience. Obama would have fired you in a second if you talked about his ears. I mean, but see, that's the beauty of Trump. Trump loves the American people. He does. He wants everyone to have the success and the grand adventures that he's had in his life. He wants everyone to experience that. And let me tell you some people who get that, ladies and gentlemen. They're black. 2 rappers get it. We're talking about Ice Cube and we're talking about 50 Cent. 50 Cent. These guys get it. They get it. You know, Ice Cube went to he went to Joe Biden and he went to Trump, and he talked about the new deal that he wants to do with black Americans. And he told Joe, and Joe said, yeah. After the election, like I said, everything is after the election, everybody. Everything for Joe Biden, everything is after the election. You don't get to know what's going on until after the election. And by that time, you got to pull down your shorts and you got to bend over. That's how Joe Biden is. But he went to Trump. Ice Cube went to Trump. And Trump said, you know what? We can make that happen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think that's a big deal, it is a big deal. Let me tell you something. Ice Cube, you know, might have been with NWA, niggas with attitudes or whatever you want to call that thing. But he's a businessman. Now, you know, whatever, in reference to his previous life, but he's a businessman and he has a lot of people that he influences. And so when people see that and when he articulates that Trump was there to support it and Joe Biden was there to kick it to the curb, people are going to listen to that. 50 Cent's another one. He's already said he's going to promote Trump. He's going to vote for Trump because of taxes, just like what I talked about, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if 50 Cent lives in New York or he lives in California. Well, he probably lives in California and probably lives in New York as well. Maybe he has a house in Jersey too. I don't know. But I'm sure he doesn't want to get taxed 62%. So he's like, Trump, and more of Trump. See, the point is this, is that when you get at that certain level, it is not about color. And see, that's what Biden, Kamala Harris, I think she was on some stupid show today, some podcast or whatever it is with some basketball player. And it's all about race with her. It's like that's their bread and butter. That's their 1-2 punch. That's why they probably put her up there as the vice president, because it's all about race for them. Because they believe blacks are stupid, blacks are one-dimensional, and you know what? Just throw the race card up there, and blacks will be like, let's kill him, let's stab him, let's burn it down, let's I don't know, let's shoot him, whatever. And that's how they view blacks. That's literally how they view blacks, ladies and gentlemen. But how does Trump view blacks? That blacks are 3-dimensional. That they're just like whites, they're just like Asians, they're just like Jews. They desire nice things. They want to go to nice schools. They want to live in nice neighborhoods, safe neighborhoods. We're not interested in defunding the police. God knows we're not interested in defunding the police. It's interesting, and I want to say something about that as well. Talking about defunding the police, talking about how blacks don't like the police. When something goes down in a black area, how in the world do the cops know about it? Does some white guy all the way maybe 60 miles away gives the police officer a tip or a call? No, it's a black concerned citizen that's in that neighborhood that says, yo, You need to get your butt down here and settle this crap that's happening out in the street here. So it's a black person calling the cops on another black person, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. It's bottom line what it is. So what you're saying is that I guess that black person is a snitch, right? I mean, so they should, because they've been hearing the conspiracy theory that the cops are out gunning down innocent black men, that, even though he's selling drugs in the community, Taiwan, even though he's, slanging crack on the block and getting all the kids strung out and having the kids, run with the drugs from here and there. And he's got females, prostituting for him, because the cops are bad guys. We're going to protect Taiwan or Siobhan or whatever the heck his crazy name is. Blacks that's not blacks. Blacks don't think like that. They're like, we need to get this dude's butt off of the corner. We need to protect our neighborhoods, and we need to make sure that this stuff is stopped. And who is the best person to stop it? Because the bottom line is this. They live in Democrat cities, and they're not, law-abiding black citizens are not permitted to have guns. Well, whites, law-abiding citizens in Democrat cities are not permitted to have guns. The gun laws are so strict in Democrat cities. Here, I live in Maryland, and we have to wait every 30 days to get a gun. 37 days, to be honest with you. And I tell you, every 37 days, like clockwork, I'm arming. I go to Bass Pro early in the morning to get my 9mm ammo, 100 rounds, $115, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, practice ammo. And then I do get the ones that really, the hollow points. So for defense. But anyways, my point is this, is that here you have 50 Cent and you got Ice Cube. And don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen. My man, I gotta admit it, I don't listen to his music. AJ listens to his music, but I will say this. Kanye West is a pretty brilliant guy. He was the first one to start it. Now, a lot of them dumped on him, but you see Ice Cube, you see 50 Cent. So let me tell you something. A lot more will be jumping on the Trump train. A lot more rappers will be jumping on the Trump train. Now, I don't know about black females. I know a lot of black females are heavily into the Democrat Party. They're heavily into Joe Biden, and they really don't like Kamala Harris, but they'll deal with her because I guess she's half Jamaican. She smokes weed. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. But anyways, Trump has a great opportunity to strengthen his base with black males. I've mentioned that to Audrey a number of times. We've talked about that. But black males have been kicked out of the Democrat Party. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Black males were kicked out of the Democrat Party back in the 60s when they were kicked out of the homes. In order for to get welfare, the man had to leave. So the Democrat Party has kicked the black man out since the 60s. And it's been the black woman that they've been focused on. Black women getting education. I'm not against black women getting educations. I'm all for it. I think black women need to get educated. I think everyone needs to get an education, particularly here in America. I mean, if you live in, Syria or bombed out Beirut, it's questionable. But here in America, everybody needs to get an education. And so what you find is that the black woman gets an education, a PhD in a soft science, but nonetheless, she has a PhD and, people listen to her. But when it comes to the black male, when black men don't get education, they don't pursue it. And black men need to pursue education, but they've been kicked out of the Democrat Party. So the party for you black men to get involved in is the Republican Party. And believe me, let me tell you something. Let me be honest with you. When black women see black men turn to the Republican Party and they see a real man, because let me tell you something, the Republican Party will turn any man, whether he's white or black, into a real man. He'll be more responsible. He'll be more knowledgeable. He'll be more considerate, thoughtful. He won't be a pusai. You know what a pusai is. He won't be that. He'll be a fighter. He'll be a rugged individualist. And let me tell you something. I don't care what type of woman you are. You want that. You want that in a man. You do. So, black men, come on and join the Republican Party. So what's going to be coming up is the interesting thing, and this will give you more of an opportunity to see the Republican Party, the conservative principles on display. But this will be kind of unique because this coming up Thursday, which is the 22nd, will be the last debate. We should actually have another one on the 29th. We can do that. But this one is positioned to be the last debate. But it says here in the Fox News, it says debate commission says it will mute Trump and Biden's while opponent talks. So they're going to be, they're going to be muting their mics while the other person talks. Is this crazy or what? I mean, this is almost like elementary school. Johnny, Joe, raise your hand first. Donald, you cannot talk unless you raise your hand and I acknowledge you. I mean, this is a crazy thing. It says the commission said in a statement that it had determined that it is appropriate to adopt measures intended to promote adherence to agreed upon rules and inappropriate to make changes to those rules. I mean, this is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. This is like elementary school. What the reason, let me tell you something. You know what the reason for this is? And I can go into this article, but I don't need to. I know the reason for all this. So this coming debate, the final debate, which I guess this would be considered, the final debate should be on foreign affairs, ladies and gentlemen. But this debate is actually going to be fighting COVID-19. We've already talked about fighting COVID-19. How many freaking times do we have to talk about fighting COVID-19? COVID-19 is not a tangible entity. It's not a human being. We're not at war with it. Okay? It's under control. People are not dying at the same rate of being infected. It's not that anymore. We're beyond that. Okay? But the bottom line is we're going to talk about COVID-19 again. Again, Joe Biden will not have a plan for COVID-19. He won't. He'll just dance around the whole issue of COVID. Anyways, the next one will be American families. What? American families? What does that got to do with anything? So let's talk about the American family, okay? And then what do you want to talk about? About them getting taxed out to the hill if Joe Biden gets elected? Is that what you want to talk about? The other thing is national security, leadership, climate change. Oh my gosh, climate change is so exhausting. And then the last thing is race. Oh my God, that's all we talk about is race. Race this, race that. You're black, I'm white, you're green, you're pink, you're yellow, you're transistor, transgender, whatever the heck it is. I mean, for goodness sake, we already know that. Why do we need to talk about that? We're not going to talk about foreign policy. Do you know why? Because of Hunter Biden's laptop. Because if we get into foreign policy, we have to mention Ukraine. We have to mention Ukraine. We have to mention Burisma. We have to mention what was on that laptop. The information that was on that laptop. We have to address that. And Trump wants Barr to address that, and we'll talk about that shortly. But he wants Barr to address that. But see, this is the thing. The left wants to control every aspect of this election, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even believe the polling numbers. I know Audrey and I, excuse me for a second. I had to clear my throat. Audrey and I, we go back and forth with the polling. And I listen, Audrey is a mastermind when it comes to these polling numbers, and being able to dissect them and all this stuff. I would be, but when something is so politicized and when the left has their tentacles in it, I cannot move myself to try to figure it out. I can't, ladies and gentlemen, and I won't. What I believe in are rallies. What I believe in are the enthusiasm of people. That's what I believe drives who's going to win and who's going to lose, ladies and gentlemen. I do. I think when Trump wins, and it won't be an upset, it won't be a surprise, it will be a natural thing that when Trump wins, out of the Trafalgar group, who basically got Michigan and Pennsylvania last year correct for Trump, battleground states for Trump, I'm not going to believe any of these polls. I think they're gonna be obsolete by that time. I really do. But the point is that the left takes everything, particularly what's going on. They shut it down. There's no conversation. There's all this conversation about Russian collusion, ladies and gentlemen. All these articles, all these news reports, all these panels, all these titillating tweets or whatever the heck you want to call them. They're true. They're right. They're excellent. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Don't worry. It's going to happen. And it never happened. It never comes to fruition. Adam Schiff even thinks that the whole thing with the laptop is a part of a Russian collusion scam. I mean, what? Joe Biden has yet to deny the information on the laptop. We know that it's true. We know that it's true. We know that the information on the laptop is true because his lawyer, once this article in the Post broke, his lawyer got in contact with the man at the repair shop. And who in the world leaves an Apple laptop, a Mac Pro laptop that only costs $90 to fix at a repair shop? I mean, either that guy is really coked out, Hunter, or he did it on purpose. I personally believe he did it on purpose. I honestly believe he did it on purpose. I mean, don't you out of your inebriated state say, I think I'm missing something. I think I'm missing a $3,000 or $4,000 Apple Mac Pro laptop, and I need to pick that up. I need to remember where I left it. But he left it there, and it became the property of the shop owner. Fortunately enough, this guy, I guess, was a Trump. Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny that Hunter Biden was so stressed out of all this stuff with Burisma and his father pimping him out, that he said, I gotta get back at my father, but I can't do it directly. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this laptop. I'm gonna wipe it or whatever, bleach it or hammer whatever Hillary Clinton attempted to do. I'm gonna try to do that and damage it, and then I'm gonna take it there and try to get it fixed. But I'm gonna leave it there, and hopefully praying to God that this shop owner will be nosy. And of course, he'll try to call me and I'll ignore him. And then eventually he'll look into what the laptop says, because like my name is on the laptop and it's the property of the Bidens. I know that might sound far-fetched, conspiratorial, whatever you want to call it. But, hey, us Republicans, we do like to dream occasionally. But this is the thing. Going back to the debates, foreign affairs is not going to be discussed because you would have to bring up Ukraine. You would have to bring up the Hunter Biden laptop, and they don't want that to happen. And that's why Joe Biden is hiding. That's why Kamala Harris is hiding, because they would ask her if she knew anything about it. Which she probably, I don't know, she's a nitwit. She probably doesn't know anything about it. Then they would have to talk about China, his love, his insatiable appetite for China. Oh, China's a good guy. I mean, Joe has made millions of dollars from Ukraine and from China. He has, ladies and gentlemen, and he does not want to talk about that. They want to talk about stupid stuff. So basically what they're saying is that they want to mute their mics. And to some respects, I think this is an attempt to try to get Trump out of doing the final debate. I really do. I think this is to agitate Trump and to say, you know what, forget that. I mean, he didn't want to do the virtual debate, which, okay, fine, hey, I understand. But here they are, they're pushing the buttons because none of them like him. Even the lady, what's her name? Welker, Christine Welker. She's in the tank for Democrats. I mean, she was at the White House in 2012 for Christmas with the Obamas. I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen, come on. I mean, are we going to continue to take this foolishness? This is crazy. Everything is set up for Joe Biden, for any Democrat, whether it's a yellow dog Democrat. You know what a yellow dog Democrat is. But even for a yellow dog Democrat to win. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a society, a culture where you have a party that wants to eliminate another party completely, wipe us off the face of the earth, march us into the ocean and drown us. They do. They would if they could. They want to take away guns. They want to take away your health care. They want to take away your liberties and freedoms. They want to take away the American flag. They want to label you a racist. They want to label me an Uncle Tom. Why? Because they're petulant children who, if they cannot get their way, they will use other devices, evil devices, to either break you or make you conform. Or if they can't do the two, they'll kill you. It's absolutely crazy. It really is. You know, so you have all this stuff going on. All this stuff going on. You know, I wanted to read an article. I'm not going to read all of it, but it's a very good article. It's by Chester J. Patch Jr. He is the associate professor of history for Ohio University. He wrote for UVA Miller Center in his Dwight Eisenhower Domestic Affairs. I'm not going to read all of it, but I suggest that you read it. It's a great article, and it addresses some interesting things. And as I read this, think about who this reminds you of. Now, the reason why I'm reading this is I want to make a point here. Dwight D. Eisenhower served for 8 years. Okay. And he was a Republican. He was white. Okay. A lot of people say, well, he had some Black American heritage or whatever the case may be. Maybe I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't really make a difference. But the point is, this man got 36% of the black vote. 36%. How in the world did he get 36% of the black vote? How? And I mean, that's literally, I guess, within the 20th century. You know, the latter part of the 20th, well, latter part of the 20th century. That's the highest that any Republican has ever gotten. Let me read this to you. It's called Dwight D. Eisenhower's Domestic Affairs. Although there were dangerous moments in the Cold War during the 1950s, people often remember the Eisenhower years as happy days. Remember that? Happy days are here again. Anyways, a time when Americans did not have to worry about depression or war as they had in the 30s and in 40s, or difficult and divisive issues as they did in the 1960s. Instead, Americans spent their time enjoying the benefits of a booming economy. Ladies and gentlemen, what was going on the last 4 years before COVID? We had a booming economy. And then we had a Republican in the office. Millions of families got their first television and their second car and enjoyed new pastimes like hula hoops. I haven't done hula hoops lately. Anyways, or transistor radios. Young people went to drive-in movies or malt shops, often wearing the latest fashions. Yet Eisenhower years were not so simple or carefree, and the president faced important and at times controversial issues in domestic affairs. Doesn't that sound like President Trump? Facing important and at times controversial issues in domestic affairs. Managing the economy involved important choices about how to maintain prosperity, or how much to spend on what we today call infrastructure. Trump has done that. Protecting freedom and the rule of law necessitated difficult decisions as civil rights became an urgent national issue. You know, civil rights is becoming an urgent and national issue even today. Not so much among blacks, but among people who want to take advantage of civil rights. Personally, I think civil rights is probably the worst thing that ever happened to people in general. I mean, it's not just blacks that got civil rights, okay? But the point is that civil rights is when man gives you rights. And if man can give you rights, then of course he gives you something, he can take it away. So, whoever he gives that right to, someone else loses some rights. Anyways, so where were we? So, okay, here we go. Dealing with the effects of the Cold War at home required complicated actions because of the sensational charges of Senator Joseph R. McCarthy about communism infiltration of government agencies. Oh my God. Communist infiltration of government agencies. Isn't that happening today, ladies and gentlemen? Bernie Sanders, communist. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, communist. The Kremlin loves those two. Joe Biden, not necessarily a communist, but he will support communist ideology. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Dwight D. Eisenhower is very much like President Trump. In the eyes of a majority of the people, Eisenhower usually made the right choices. Trump, ladies and gentlemen, usually 9 times out of 10 makes the right choices. He does, as he often enjoyed approval ratings of more than 70% in the polls. 70%, oh my God. The man was like a Jesus. 70% in the polls, and I think Trump has experienced 50%, high 50s. Obama, he really didn't enjoy high poll ratings. Actually, Trump has always been higher than Obama. But, 50% is good. I mean, considering that we're in a very divisive time, so he's doing pretty good. Yet Eisenhower also had critics. Now, this is the interesting thing. I like this. Yet Eisenhower also had critics who believed that he had not used his power as president vigorously or effectively to protect individual freedoms and ensure justice. Modern republicanism. During the campaign of 1952, Eisenhower criticized the status or big government programs of Truman's Fair Deal. Yet he did not share the extreme views of some Republican conservatives, the never-Trumpers, the establishment Whigs. And that would be like Mitt Romney and like that dead dude. What's the dead dude they call Songbird who broke his arms when he was trying to eject out of a plane? Oh, John McCain. That's right. John McCain, the Songbird. You know why they call him Songbird, right? Well, because when they caught him, before they caught him, he tried to eject out of his plane that was shot down. And instead of pulling his arms in, his arms were out and he broke his arms being ejected out of his plane. And so they tortured him by not repairing his arms, his captors. And until he snitched, then that's basically when they patched him up. But it was so far gone that's why he couldn't reach his arm. Anyways, the point is that Eisenhower did not share the same extreme views as some of the Republican conservative established. These old guard Republicans talked about eliminating not just Fair Deal, but also the New Deal programs and roll back government regulations of the economy. Eisenhower favored a more moderate course, one that he called modern republicanism, which preserved individual freedoms in the market economy, yet ensured that government would provide necessary assistance to workers who had lost their jobs or to the ill or aged who, through no fault of their own, could not provide for themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what President Trump has done through COVID-19. No fault of the American people, none whatsoever. And Trump has maintained people's freedom, people's ability to live, work, take care of their families, and the left hates it, ladies and gentlemen. I can go on with this article, but my point is Dwight D. Eisenhower received 36% of the black vote, either 36 or 38. I got to check, but I think it's 36. 36% of the black vote. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump deserves 100% of the black votes, ladies and gentlemen, literally. And all Democrats deserve 0. You want to know who's killing blacks? It is the Democrat Party, whether it is Democrat police officers in Democrat states and cities, whether it is abortion clinics, because Republicans don't have abortion clinics. They don't. Okay? It is Black Lives Matter, Antifa, that is supported by the Democrat Party, ladies and gentlemen. They're burning down black shops. They are. So, blacks need to vote for Trump 100%. Not 0.5%, not 50%, not 60%, not 70%, not even 90%, 100%. They really do, ladies and gentlemen. We really do. All of us need to. So we'll see. We'll see. We got more, but I got to pause it. And I got to tell you that, unfortunately, the show has come to a close. But I'm hoping that you enjoyed everything we talked about today. Please check us out on the Air of Reconstruction. And please check out newjourneypac.org. Contribute to us. Let us know you're out there. And let us know that you are supporting candidates who support you, that are conservative, not just black, but those who support freedom, capitalism, and President Trump. This is Darren Williams of the Era of the Reconstruction, and thank you again for joining.
Uncle Ruckus again. No relation. This podcast is paid for by the New Journey PAC and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.